I was looking out of the window and trying to discern a familiar silhouette among passersby. Sometimes I even found certain similarities with Kevin and one or the other men. But these were just games of my imagination. It was not him, but my desire to see him. Due to the stress, I didn't even notice how I began to gnaw my lips again. It hurt, but at that moment my feelings seemed to have been dulled. I came to my senses only when I bit my lip and felt the taste of blood on my tongue. Damn, this is already the second time. I decided to drink some water, but the glass treacherously slipped right out of my hands, breaking at my feet. Damn it! All this needs to be cleaned, I thought, and immediately stepped on one of the pieces, cutting my foot. There you go. No wonder they say that trouble does not come alone. From a feeling of powerlessness and despair, I sat down on the floor and started sobbing. I no longer had the energy to hold on and believe in the best. Well, things are not fine at all, and I couldn't deny it anymore. Everything is just awful, terrible. It couldn't even get worse. Kevin, where the hell are you? You should see what you have done to the life of our family. Come on, get back. Everything will be fine. Everything will be different. Just come back, please. Such waiting is really unbearable. Come back, Kevin. Hey, guys. I'm Liana, and my brother ran away from home, stealing all the family's savings. For me and my parents, it was a real shock, from which it was literally impossible to recover. But let's try to figure out everything in this story together. Now let me tell you about how it all happened. I live in a rather cramped apartment with my parents and older brother Kevin, who has to sleep in the hallway, because I occupy the living room, and our parents live in the other room. Of course, our parents understood that we needed our own space, and have been saving for a long time to buy new housing. They would have been able to save the required amount much earlier, if not for Kevin, whom we call the walking disaster. Since childhood, he was incredibly active and always broke or spoiled something somewhere, while my parents had to pay for his antics. And nothing has been changing over time. We were no longer surprised by the broken things at school and at home. But once for his birthday, he asked to go to the park, where we managed to break an entire amusement ride as a result, of which my parents had to pay a huge fine. Well, don't ask how he could break the amusement ride. There's no answer to the question. This continued until he turned 18 and began to live separately. For some time, there was more space in the apartment, and I was really happy about it, because the living room and the corridor fully belonged to me. And now, I didn't have to trip over my brother when I came home. However, Kevin did not cease to be a walking disaster, and in the first week, he started a fire in a rented apartment, which again resulted in huge expenses for our parents, and my brother had to return home. So my joy from the vacated space didn't last long. At some point, Kevin began to rarely show up at home. My parents were worried for him, but he assured them that he had found a good job and that if everything went according to plan, then soon we would be able to afford buying a new house. These words frightened and delighted us at the same time. We hoped that he wouldn't get into trouble again. Kevin didn't tell us anything about the details of the work, and soon he really began to bring money home, silently putting it in an old safe. Mom began to be proud of him, but my dad and I were still very wary of him. We knew Kevin's temper well and got used to his antics. Everything was going well, but one day Kevin stopped showing up at home and had been gone for 3 days. We were really worried, but we hoped that he just decided to make more money and was about to return home. Well, at least we tried to comfort ourselves with such thoughts, realizing that this was far from normal. And when my parents opened the safe to put another portion of money into it, they found out that it was empty. Absolutely empty. All the savings that they had made together with Kevin just disappeared, along with Dad's figurines. This was a real shock and a serious blow for all of us. Could my brother have done such a thing? We called the police, and soon a special group arrived at our house. After long manipulations with the safe and a thorough examination of the apartment, the investigator told us that only Mom and Dad's fingerprints were found on the safe, and that the traces of burglary had been noted neither on the doors nor on the safe. It became clear that this was another sneaky antic of Kevin, and that he carefully approached the issue of robbing my parents' safe, wiping out his fingerprints. This was a real blow to us. Perhaps we could expect any antics from my brother, but not this one. How could he do this? Did he just rob his family so easily, knowing what a difficult position we were in and how hard it had been to earn the money that he took? It was hard to believe. But the facts spoke for themselves, and we had to get used to the idea that Kevin had just robbed us. My parents decided not to report Kevin to the police and wait for him to return home to sort things out with him personally. We were sure that sooner or later he would run out of money and then he would have to return home. But this happened neither in a week nor in a month. I decided to help my parents somehow and started looking for a part-time job in a place that my friends had told me about. This work was not entirely legal, but there were absolutely no requirements, and my salary would really help our family. At that point, it was the most important thing. I could not think of anything else back then. Coming to the required place, I found a group of teenagers like me. We were told that everyone needed to wait there, and a person would arrive soon to explain the essence of our work. And I was looking forward to that, together with everyone else. I wanted to find out as soon as possible what I would have to do and how much I could earn. 15 minutes later, a truck appeared in front of us, and a man in a suit got out of it and said that we would have to deliver parcels from the trailer to the addresses indicated on them. Everyone took several boxes and began to deliver them. I looked at mine with surprise. Why, will you ask? The thing is that I got a package with the address of my house, and in the recipient's name column, there was my mother's name. I wonder what could be there. However, we were strictly forbidden to open the parcels ourselves, so I decided that there was something for my parents and went to my house, making assumptions about the contents of the box. I left the package at the door and immediately went to deliver the rest of them because I was afraid that people from the truck might follow me and they would definitely not like the fact that I took the package myself. But I was bursting with curiosity. After quickly delivering the rest of the packages and receiving the money, I went home, where my shocked parents were waiting for me. It turned out that this package was from Kevin. It contained a wealth figurine from our safe and a note where he confessed that he had taken the money from the safe and asked for forgiveness. He wrote that he regretted it, but there was no turning back. He also said that he was then doing something illegal in order to return us the money he had stolen, and he would no longer be able to come back home for 2 reasons. Firstly, because of shame. He would no longer be able to look our parents in the eye. And secondly, he has been involved with very dangerous people. My parents were very scared when they found out all about this and wanted to find him immediately and stop him because their son was more important to them than any money, but there was no return address on the parcel. Then it became clear to me why the people I work for conduct their activities illegally. I decided to confess to my parents that it was me who brought the package and told them everything about my work. Then I suggested we tried to find out something. At first, my parents got even more frightened and began to scold me, but a little later, they still agreed. We had no other options anyway. For a few more days, I've worked delivering goods and trying as hard as possible to show my best side. And then I was offered to move to the warehouse. It was exactly what was needed, because only in this way I could learn at least something about Kevin and help him. A couple of days later, in the evening, when all the workers had left the warehouse, I got into the office and started looking for documents. There were so many of them that at first I was completely discouraged because it would take more than a day to go through them all. But I decided to act. I managed to find the address of the sender of that parcel, and it was really far away in a neighboring city. Having written it down in the notebook, I immediately went home, and fortunately no one suspected anything. At home, I gave that address to my parents and then passed it to the police because we needed to act all together. Further events developed very rapidly, and law enforcement officers worked very quickly. They raided the address I was able to get and found a secret factory manufacturing soft toys with fake medicines for various hospitals hidden inside. One of the workers of that factory was Kevin, who, in a conversation with the police and our parents, told how one of his bosses instructed him to deliver a suitcase to another city, but on the train, someone stole it from him. The boss told Kevin to pay a huge sum of money for the lost suitcase, so my brother decided to take a desperate step, to steal the family money to pay off the debt. Fortunately, we managed to persuade Kevin to cooperate with the investigators. That's why he managed to get off with a suspended sentence. Thanks to his assistance, the police managed to prevent a large batch of counterfeit drugs from getting to the hospitals of our city, and possibly save the lives of hundreds or even thousands of people. Well, I'm glad that everything turned out that way. After that incident, Kevin has changed a lot. For the first time in many years, my parents were able to have a heart-to-heart talk with him and understand the reasons for his constant desire for adventure. Everything turned out to be very simple here. He was always sure that our parents loved me more than him and tried as hard as possible to prove that he was worthy of their love as well. Upon getting to know this, my parents were very surprised and said that we were equally important to them and that they regretted that they made him doubt their feelings for him. They promised to improve and asked Kevin to go to university and leave thoughts about earning money for later, especially since Dad recently got a new job. I can't say that I'm glad that all this happened to our family, but this story with money and Kevin was definitely good for us, at least because we reconsidered our attitudes towards each other and started learning to love each other in a new way. Now everything in our family is much better than it used to be, and that is the most important thing. Do you think Kevin stole the money because he has a bad temper, or our parents are to blame? Give your answers in the comments. Click on the thumbs up button below this video, and be sure to subscribe to our channel so as not to miss